Alright, welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is doing well. Let's talk about this 140-pound division. It is so good. We're just coming off the back of a sensational performance of Devin Haney. He's about to shake things up in that division. Subriel Matias is about to shake things up as well. He's in talks with Teofimo Lopez and Devin Haney as well. Ryan Garcia's in the mix. Tank Davis isn't a 140-pounder, but he can fight there. Jack Catterall, Richardson Hitchens, Kurt Scooby, we're going to talk about him a little bit later on, and a couple of dark horses that I think could, get in the mix and really, maybe get a couple of big wins under their belt. But there are so many magnificent fights for 2024. Let's talk about them.
Boxing.
Again, to all the subscribers tuned in, much love to you, and thank you to anybody new locked in. Gratitude to you. Right, I don't even know where to start. There's so many fighters. The list is endless. I could only fit so many on the thumbnail, and there's still a couple more. You still have the Ergashevs of the world. I know he just lost in a bad fashion, really, but he could still quite easily, if he fought one of the not top guys, but middle to top guys, there's no doubt about it, he could land that backhand and end the fight. So he's just outside the top 10, I'd say. And then it's funny how this division swerves so quickly, because a year ago, not even Jose Cepeda was in the top 3 or 4. Lost to Prograis, lost to Hitchens. Now he becomes kind of a gatekeeper, which I mentioned at the time in that Hitchens pre-fight verbiage. But Teofimo Lopez, right? You gotta give this guy credit. He wants to smoke. He really does. His resume and his just constant calling out and fighting the top guys is remarkable. I love it. He and Subriel Matias are talking about a fight in June, Puerto Rican Day Parade. I don't know, June 8th or 9th, I think that might be in New York City. That is just an amazing matchup and an amazing time and an amazing venue or city to do it. New York, shout out to the Puerto Ricans. They come out and support theirs. They really do, and it's just a magnificent event. I've been to several fights at MSG and they are wonderful. So, but they're also talking about doing that in Puerto Rico as well. I was watching the Boxing Voice. There's a good video on there with Bill Haney and Matias's trainer. They were going back and forth, but it was pleasant. It was a little, jabs here and there, but it was kind-hearted banter, and they were just trying to get some fights done, basically. And that's what we want to hear, because this year's been a magnificent year. But next year, the 140-pound division is probably going to, really help the sport of boxing. Ryan Garcia's of the world, he's in the mix. Now, I don't think he can beat any of the top guys, but he does have that, speed and power, the neutralizer. So you just never know with somebody like that, and the athleticism and his self-belief, of course, but you just don't know. But nonetheless, he could get in the good fights. It sounds better. He's got a big following. We know that it'll make a big fight, just like it did against Tank Davis. I know it fell short of what we wanted, but it's the spectacle, and if he builds himself back up, there's no reason why he can't get back in the mix with these big names for big fights, and that's what we want. And obviously Devin Haney, look, this kid he's going to be a problem at 140. That was a superb performance against Regis Prograis. Now, you could say, and I did say this in my video, I was like, look, as amazing as this is, and as amazing as Haney is, and I've always backed him to beat whoever he's fought. I've not been on that, he's overrated, he's not this, he's not Mayweather. No, I haven't also said he's going to be the next superstar, but I was like, this kid he's going to be pretty good. I've always backed him to win, clearly, as well. And he's done it again. He did it more than I thought he would, but that performance right there was special. But was it stylistically to the footwork situation Regis had with Kambosos too? It was more than that with Kambosos. No, it was just a superb. He's been on a great run. And the fight with Loma, whether you think he won or lost, it's conceivable. Either could have happened. I've scored that and watched that fight 3 times. I've given 3 different scores. 1 for Loma, 1 draw, 1 for Haney. It's so hard to split. depends what criteria you're having, and then if you watch it closely. So I know Loma tries to steal some rounds, and he does, and then he hurt Haney, and people think that's because why Loma won, but that's not how you score fights. It was a close fight. He still performed really, 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 really well against Lomachenko, who's a great fighter, and now he just handled Regis like nobody's done before, and it's going to be amazing to see what fights he's in. Now, in terms of the dark horses, Jack Catterall for me and Kurt Scooby. Now, if you don't know Kurt Scooby, I'm going to be a little bit biased, but I'm also going to speak on stuff that I do know and what I see. I have the luxury of seeing him every week in the gym, at Gleason's gym. And I've seen, you only have to follow him on Instagram to know what kind of discipline level that this guy has. And he is just a happy fighter right now. And I've heard some sparring stories, which I won't elaborate on for obvious reasons, but I've seen this guy, for years now, a couple of years at least. And I know his training team very well. One of them's my mentor, Don Saxby, one of my mentors. And this kid is going to be a problem at 142. And he's undefeated right now. I think he's 13-0 with 11 knockouts, maybe 12. I'll put it on the screen if I'm wrong. I think it's 13-0 with 11 knockouts, but nonetheless, he's going to be a dark horse as well. I say Jack Catterall because he's got such a diffusing style. He might not be fan friendly. Same with Richardson Hitchens, but they know how to box and they know how to win fights. And I thought everybody thought and knew he beat Josh Taylor. Jack Catterall did. He is just an awkward, I want to say slick, but he's got some slickness to him. He's got an awkward ruggedness to him, and he can really box and he can fight. And I think he's got the style to really upset some names. He just come off a good win against Linares. Obviously Linares was well past it. We get that, but still, you got to pass these tests. And it'll be interesting to see how Jack Catterall does at the top level. I know he's with Matchroom, and I know Regis Prograis is too, Richardson Hitchens. Now, those fights don't necessarily pair well together, to be honest. They're stylistically, Hitchens and Catterall just have a very spoiler style about them. You wouldn't want to put them in two together because that would be a very dull fight, I think. But nonetheless, they could do it if they really wanted to boost one of the others and see who's got the stuff, But I mean, there's just, I feel like I'm forgetting a couple of names. Jose Ramirez is still in the mix. Who else is on the look, let's talk about Tio for a second, right? Because we're thinking about how a fight with him and Subriel Matias would go. Like, I would favor Devin Haney a bit more than Tio, just because Haney's got that pure boxing ability. Tio is a superb counterpuncher too. He's very athletic, he's twitchy, and he's just a talent. And they both are, but Tio's got that power as well, which I would think Matias would be able to take his power and drag him into deep waters late. But I've backed against Tio before, and I've come up short against. He's proved me wrong a couple of times, and credit to him. I actually really enjoy being wrong sometimes because I really learn more about the sport. And I'm like, wow. I thought going into the Taylor fight, I was like, like he was a little bit like he's got some out the ring issues, and that can really affect you. But a lot of people don't like Tio. I don't mind him. I know he says a lot of outlandish stuff, but I think there's a good soul in there somewhere, there really is. But as a fighter, he's a talent, and he could quite easily beat Matias. He could quite easily lose as well. I'd have to look at a bit more film, but that would be an amazing fight. That would be an amazing fight. Wow. Just the thought of that. The thought of even Matias in there, even with Matias and Garcia. I know he'd probably eat Garcia up, but Garcia's got that just neutralizing power, which probably wouldn't stand up against Matias, because Ergashev was hitting him with some big shots, and Matias just took him. And he's a different beast these days, Matias. And then, like I said, Richardson Hitchens, with his style, you would think he could diffuse any of the top guys. Him and Haney would be a major cage match, but skills on display like nothing we've seen for a while in this division. It's very exciting, and I cannot wait for next year to get these fights made and to watch them, because you know, like I said, 2023 was magnificent. I'm working on a highlight reel right now, and I will get that out before the end of the year for sure. It's just a highlight reel with the music, some music, and some of the best fights we've seen this year. Because, like I said, 140-pound division is smoking right now. Jose Ramirez, let's touch on him. I know I spoke about him a minute ago, but I didn't really elaborate. I don't know where this dude is. Apparently he was swerving Prograis, and then he came back with some counter argument which sounded reasonable. This is why I never go too hard on fighters when they duck. I made a video about ducking. I'll leave the link up here, because it's like, you know, we never get the full information. And for example, let's just say the Garcia situation where he offered Teo $1.5 million, right? Which, you know, I don't know how much Teo was getting paid before that, but he feels like he's worth more than that, and that's fine. It's like I don't think he generally is scared of Garcia, but the other notion you could say, well, they're lowballing him a little bit, so he does swerve the fight. So who's ducking who? Do you know? A little bit with the back and forth with Haney and Shakur. It's like you never really know, and you know, some ducks are blatant, and they really are, and we need to call them out big time. If they're real hard ducks, we need to call those out. But just for ducks that where the money doesn't fit, and you know, like I said in that video, it's what you've got to get yourself up for. You know, getting yourself up for Subriel Matias, that's going to cost a bit of money. Do you know what I mean? You got to bring something to the table, a lot of money. And to take yourself to a training camp, to take yourself spiritually to a place that you know is going to be a darker camp. It's going to be a darker sparring. It's going to be darker training. And the fight is going to be darker. You might win, but you might take some years off you. That's the reality of the situation. Or fighting Shakur is a different complexity, you know. It's just a puzzle. It's frustrating, and you're probably not going to win. So, yeah, just don't go easy on fighters when there's ducks that happen, because you just never know the full story. There's a lot of promoters. It's about money at the end of the day. Promoters, managers, trainers, they all want to get paid for the next fight. So that's all I've got to say about that. Let me know your thoughts on 140-pound division. I would love to know who you think is the king. Who do you think is going to reign 140 next year? Do you know about the fighters I was talking about, or Kurt Scooby? Do you have any faith in Jack Catterall? And maybe I'm being biased because he's English, but I keep it unbiased on this channel, to be honest. But I really thought Jack Catterall, even before the Taylor fight, I didn't have him winning that fight. I didn't actually make a video, but I thought it would be more competitive than a lot of people thought. He was going to get wiped out in mid-rounds, people were saying. I thought maybe it would go 12 and Taylor would win a slight decision, but he beat Taylor fair and square. And you know, he should have been the undisputed champs. It's a devastating sport, really, when you think about it. When you know, 2 or 3 people can you know, take the course of your career and your financial earnings in a different way. Even if you do all you can, I still would have liked to see him end out that last round. That was what really bothered it for me, because he took his foot off the gas a little bit, and I'm like, you're in Scotland, you've got to really let it hang out to get those belts against the champ, and he didn't really do that. I know he still won, but in that situation, I'd have liked to see him do that. But look, I think that's it from me. I've been rambling a little bit, just trying to get these videos out before Christmas. I've got loads of videos coming. I want to just say thank you very much to all the subscribers. If you are new, hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed the video, as always, it's got to come from here. Hit the like button. Peace and love. I'm out of here boxing on the edge.